Good morning. Can you hear me? Well, happy Valentine's Day and welcome to the Treasure Coast Unitarian Universalist Congregation here in Stuart, Florida. My name is Pam Corbin. I will be your worship associate today. And we're happy to have Bob MacDonald in our pulpit today, Reverend Bob MacDonald. A big thanks to those who helped with the service. As you can see, Bruce is not feeling well, so we have Corina filling in our music and also our tech guru, so we'd like to thank her, and she's our Zoom host as well. And we have a backup host is Janet Grote, and we will mute everyone to avoid any noise in the background. Please remain muted. We are a welcoming congregation, and we welcome people of all gender identities, races, ages, and backgrounds. Thank you for being with us today. We hold these Zoom services every Sunday at 11 a.m. and to be put on our mailing list and to find out more information about our congregation, please go to our website at tcuuc.org. You'll get announcements in our Friday online newsletter and a midweek follow-up from the sermon. And Bob will now light our chalice in the sanctuary, and I have opening words. Thank you, Bob. My opening words is from a poem that was sent to me by my girlfriend, Jackie, my childhood girlfriend, and it was sent to me in February of 1995. After a while, you learn the subtle difference between holding a hand and chaining a soul. And you learn that love doesn't mean leaning, and company doesn't mean security. And you begin to learn that kisses aren't contracts, and presents aren't promises. And you begin to accept your defeats with your head up and your eyes open, with the grace of a woman, not the grief of a child. And learn to build your roads on today, because tomorrow's ground is too uncertain for plans, and futures might have a way of falling down in mid-flight. After a while, you learn that even sunshine burns if you get too much. So plant your own garden and decorate your own soul instead of waiting for someone to bring you flowers. And you learn that you really can endure, and that you are strong, and that you really do have worth. And you learn and learn. With every goodbye, you learn. Now we will sing hymn number 361. Enter, rejoice, and come in.
Enter, rejoice, and come in. Enter, rejoice, and come in. Today will be a joyful day. Enter, rejoice, and come in. Open your ears to the song. Open your ears to the song. Today will be a joyful day. Enter, rejoice, and come in. Open your hearts, everyone.
So today we're going to have, at this time, we're going to recite our affirmation, speaking the first verse and singing the second. Love is the spirit of this church, and service is its law. This is our great covenant, to dwell together in peace, to seek the truth in love, and to help one another.
From all that dwell below the skies, let faith and hope and love arise. Let duty, truth, and good be sung from every land, by every tongue. Amen.
Now we're going to have a time for all ages.
Hi. Okay. Oh my gosh, I just have so many videos loaded up in my web browser and they're all like going off. Okay, so for today's time for all ages, I thought I too would introduce some poetry into the service, particularly the poetry of Rumi. So Rumi is a 13th century Persian poet who is also one of the best-selling poets in America and has been for years. So let's see, pull up a poem here. So that's a lovely poem, and these poems are accompanied by some really nice imagery. And I have another one, but first, here's a little bit more about Rumi, or I might not have this pronunciation right, Jalal ad-Din Muhammad Rumi, that's his name, known more popularly just as Rumi. So he was a 13th century Persian poet, an expert in Islamic jurisdiction. He's an Islamic scholar, a theologian, and a Sufi mystic, originally from Iran. He's one of the best-selling poets in America. Sufism is like the mystical inward dimension of Islam. And poems from this tradition, of which Rumi's are probably best known, they read like love poems, and they are. They're love poems to the divine creator. So Rumi is also, he's well known for some quotes that are like real zingers, even when they're not like unpacked within the context of the poem, such as, "Stop acting so small. You are the universe in ecstatic motion. The wound is the place where the light enters you." That one's very popular. And this one is also very well known. "Out beyond ideas of wrongdoing and right doing, there is a field. I'll meet you there. When the soul lies down in that grass, the world is too full to talk about." And here's one more poem. Thank you for sharing some poetry with me. It's kind of interesting to me that both of these poems had references to, you know, getting the hand slapped. Anybody else notice that? That was kind of funny. I think it's almost like an ego thing. Like as the lover, you're not supposed to announce your presence. Like, here I am. All of your focus and attention is supposed to be on the beloved. So it's almost an invitation to disappear into the experience of loving or get your hand slapped. So thank you for sharing that with me. It's very loosely connected to Valentine's Day. And I hope you enjoyed that poetry. And let's see, we're going back to Pam. In the spotlight, Pam.
I'm back. I'm back. And this is the part of our service where we explore our joys and sorrows. Let us share our joys and sorrows. I will move a symbolic stone into our river to mark each joy and sorrow. And please keep your joys and sorrows brief. Raise your hand to share, and Corina will unmute you to speak.
The meditation, words from Walt Whitman, the back of our hymnal entitled For You. The sum of all known reverence I add up in you, whoever you are. Those who govern are there for you. It is not you who are there for them. All architecture is what you do to it when you look upon it. All music is what awakes from you when you are reminded by the instruments. The sun and stars that float in the open air, the apple-shaped earth and we upon it, the endless pride and outstretching of people, unspeakable joys and sorrows. The wonder everyone sees and everyone else they see, and the wonders that fill each minute of time forever. It is for you, whoever you are. It is no farther from you than your hearing and sight are from you. It is hinted by nearest, commonest, readiest. We consider Bibles and religions divine. I do not say they are not divine. I say they have all grown out of you and may grow out of you still. It is not they who give the life, it is you who give the life. Will you seek afar off? You surely come back at last in things best known to you, finding the best or as good as the best. Happiness, knowledge, not in another place, but this place. Not for another hour, but this hour. Walt Whitman. A few moments of silence.
Hello, everybody, once again. Earlier in the service, I asked that you get out a pen. We're now going into the part of our service that is about the offering. Moving towards our checkbooks, and that's why I wanted you to have your pen. Normally, those of us who pledge drop a few extra dollars in the plate each week, and our monthly checks land there also. But this is just not working on Zoom. And of course, those who have not made a financial commitment yet to the church are often very generous. So write those checks, please, and send them to 21 Southeast Central Parkway, Stewart, Florida, 34997.
Your offering is gratefully received. You remember the former president. He used to talk about the perfect not being the enemy of the good. Well, I had to look up where that came from. Voltaire, the French writer, said, "The best is the enemy of the good." Confucius said, Better a diamond with a flaw than a pebble without. And of course, there's Shakespeare. Striving to better, oft we mar what's well. And President Obama, don't let the perfect be the enemy of the good. Well, here's a practical application. Over a romantic dinner with your beloved this evening, maybe over a glass of Chardonnay, you say to your beloved, you know, Confucius said, better a diamond with a flaw than a pebble without. And my beloved, you are that diamond to me. Would your beloved likely respond, that's the sweetest thing you've said to me? Or, just what flaw are we talking? High on my list of things I wish Jesus hadn't said were the words translated, you must be perfect. The words of Jesus translated, be perfect as God is perfect, comes at the end of a section on how loving must we be. And the perfect thing seems to mean to be, how loving can we be? Can we be as loving as God is? Now, I want to read this paragraph to you from a modern translation of the Sermon on the Mount, indeed, all the Gospels. It's from the translation of the 5 Gospels, What Did Jesus Really Say? The Search for the Authentic Words of Jesus by the Jesus Seminar. As you know, we once were told you are to love your neighbor and you are to hate your enemy. But I tell you, love your enemies and pray for your persecutors. You'll then become children of your Father in the heavens. God causes the sun to rise on both the bad and the good, and sends rain on both the just and the unjust. Tell me, if you love those who love you, why should you be commended for that? Even the toll collectors do as much, don't they? And if you greet only your friends, what have you done that is exceptional? Even the pagans do as much, don't they? To sum up, you are to be unstinting in your generosity in the way your Heavenly Father's generosity is unstinting. Now, I didn't bother looking up unstinting. That's kind of like, I guess, unstunted. But this translation, as we've talked before about the Jesus Seminar, it puts all the words attributed to Jesus in color coding, likely said by Jesus, not likely said by Jesus. And in this one, only the section, love your enemies. Now, those are the only words thought to be straight from Jesus. But whatever the Aramaic word was from Jesus, be perfect has been an imperfect translation, or so it seems to me. What it has meant to too many is what they can't be, so therefore they aren't good enough. Why is the path from perfect to not good enough, why is it a lot shorter and more traveled than the path from perfect to good enough? And just keep trying. Not to be perfect, but the best you can be. A couple of you have said, how am I to love my white supremacist neighbor? Or those with the political signs that didn't say keep off the grass, but wouldn't incline you to go to borrow a cup of sugar? Now, this is purely hypothetical, but it's possible you have such neighbors. With a big dose of honesty can be a loving act. Most of us can count on one hand the number of people who have cared enough about us to dish out some honest feeling we really needed to hear. The issue of, do we have to be perfect, and isn't trying to be good enough, made for struggles in early Christianity. Monasticism, lives of self-denial, emerged in the early centuries, starting in Egypt and Syria. When I visited Israel, the group stayed near Tiberias, named for the great Roman emperor. The city was on the Sea of Galilee, or Gennesaret. Overlooking the city and the sea were the cliffs of Arbel. And I've asked Corina if she can put up a picture so you get the picture. The cliffs of Arbel look mountainous, but they're not that. We were able to walk up to the top and look around and look in. And if you look in, you see a lot of openings for caves, small caves. And we were told that early followers of Jesus went to those caves and lived their lives there, lives of denial, but with a good view. Now, what happened, we were told, is that kind of monasticism led to mental health problems galore. Now, sadly, we can relate to that, just as we are hearing that the death count may have been underreported. We will likely learn that the mental health issues, including domestic abuse and suicide, have been also. Monasticism transformed from singles in isolation to brothers and sisters in communities. We all need communities. Did Jesus command self-denial and purity and what we would call fanaticism? Leave families behind to live in poverty and begging? You know, the Roman Empire had family values too. And Christianity could not have grown as it did if it eschewed family and civic virtues. So I've read the general advice was not leave your family and live in poverty and leave them to fend for themselves, but rather the goal is not purity and perfection, but do the best you can. Another area where judgments about perfection and good loomed, in my experience, was the minister selection process in my old New York career. I was involved in a program for churches that had to choose new ministers because long-term beloved ministers, well, mostly beloved, were retiring. The way it worked, a district executive chose a candidate for a committee to grill, to interview, and to decide. More than once, the first choice of the district executive was rejected. So choices 2 and 3 were sent. By the third candidate, some committee members realized the first choice, rejected, was looking better. So they asked, can we re-interview the first candidate? No, not allowed. That candidate had moved on to a new committee in church. But it seemed to this observer that the perfect or presumed perfect had sabotaged potential good, the perfect and the good. We make a lot of choices in life because of the good we have in us and want to see in ourselves and in others. If we are waiting to see perfect, well, we are waiting. I choose to be here in TCUUC because TCUUC helps me to see the good in myself and in others, all others. By all the stuff and efforts all of us keep bringing up to enhance the good in us and around us in our community, we are encouraged to grow in goodness. Not because we aren't good enough, because we want to grow in goodness. If I remember that little history book Ken George wrote about TCUUC, we are coming up on 30 years old next year. So we are a young congregation. I like saying that. We are a young congregation. Some of you have talked about waves, our history in waves. The congregation started with a small group. A few of that group are still with us. I don't mean, wow, they are still alive. I mean, they have been here for the whole journey or most of it. And that includes Martha Alfie, Linda and Dan Shuey. And I've learned recently Jerry Shaw has been with us from the beginning. There might be others, but those come to my mind. For these almost 30 years, we have survived because of the preponderance of big givers. A gift from Gene Heston bought the land and the first building, no mortgage. The gifts from the Craigs and the Hendersons and a few others bought this beautiful sanctuary. Again, no mortgage. P.S. Our district executive used to say, it's a mixed blessing to have no mortgage because struggling to pay off a mortgage bonds a church community together, just as couples take pride in what they have worked for. Now we are going to learn if our history can go on and will go on with the numbers of folks we have giving all they can. Of course, we need to grow the numbers, and Zoom is a challenge. Many churches are finding it a blessing to reach a wider audience, or those members who live far away, and homebound members. We need growth and sustenance to get to that point ourselves. This past year has taught us a lot, and it has cost us a lot. We keep reminding ourselves at home, Lori and I, how minor the annoyances and inconveniences are compared to what so many have lost and go on losing. And the fear for the people we love cuts pretty deep. And it will until the pandemic is really over. And until then, precautions. If 3 masks are better, 3 masks. That perfect talk sounds like Greek ideas and ideals, or at least Keats's ode to a Grecian urn. You remember, beauty is truth, truth beauty. That is all ye know on earth and all ye need to know. Truth and beauty and goodness. We need them all like lights to guide us, not to show us what we aren't, but what we are still capable of. And if not us, then the humans who come after us and hopefully improve on us. Our closing hymn is number 131, Love Will Guide Us.
Love will guide us, peace has triumphed, hope and silence will lead the way on the road from grief
The chalice will be extinguished with these words. Many faiths encourage us to strive for compassion and generosity toward ourselves and toward others, as if that's what religions and deity are about. What would we want except that religions and deity to be about?